All right, this is the last follow-up video I'm going to do for you guys because I just watched one of my favorite guys, Stephen Colbert, and he's talking about a million cases, and this is exactly what has to stop. Um, and I saw a tepid response the other day from Dr. Fauci, which was like hinting at, hey, cases aren't really correlating well. They're they've been separating from severity and kind of, I feel like bringing these media hysterics in a tepid way. You know, it's like breaking something to a kid. Where I am, we're also seeing a rise in COVID breakthrough cases, and I would say it's great news because they are all mild cases. Even the older ones. I live in a place that has a high vaccination rate, but still, to talk about cases and variants at this point, or explosion of cases, as if an explosion of cases meant something. And that's what I've been talking about in previous videos. Like we need to define, and we can have a lot of conversation about whether all these cases are really likely to, um, spoiler alert, no, lead to a mutation that repeats what we saw before. But the thing it made me realize about the media that I think was my hypothesis is that I think another reason of how we got here is like the Madoff scheme. Like it started off as a innocent hysteric game uh, that it just kept getting bigger, and I think the left wing media and politicians were too scared to get out of it. When do it was like it's when do we, because when you put all the objectives, when we get to this vaccination rate, when we get to that, when we, and it was like, wow, well, wasn't it that herd immunity, wasn't it? But and the thing is, like, it seems like it's like a drug they can't give up, or like, what do we do, when we reach these objectives, but we're still closing stuff down because maybe we don't want to go back and say that whole kind of case thing we were kind of exaggerating about, not exaggerating, but we were giving you we were all these scare tactics in a very reckless way, because even giving a daily death number in a round figure that doesn't take into account, prevalence was reckless. Reckless. It's meaningless. We don't speak in those types of terms in medicine. You contextualize death, per inhabitants, or a lot of things you do to avoid manipulating figures. And I really think I think the politicians are scared out of their mind to admit mistakes, huge ones, and correct course. And I think the media, and it's funny because I'm a lefty, my CNN, NPR, Virgil, all these people, and it hurts to watch them now because I'm like, what are you doing? And and a good example was, and the last one I know that people are gonna hate, the whole Trump thing. I don't know the specifics of his case, but there was this whole media thing about one negative test, one positive test. I mean, who? I'm like, do you guys not have doctors over there? I don't know the specifics, but usually you do a test that is very sensitive and has a high false positive rate because you want to make sure you get all the positives. And then you do a second tier test that is much more specific to confirm. So, the idea of a false positive and a confirmation negative is like a general way we do screening in medicine. Cheaper, sensitive, we will make sure we it's more important to get you know all of the real negatives and grabbing some fake positives and then do a test that's probably going to be more expensive. I don't know what he did, but this, like, hearing a bunch of non-doctors sit around and be like, yeah, I mean, there were two tests, we just flip a coin to pick which one we just, what. I'm like, did you guys, do you have no one consulting on, that you guys, and that went on. And to me, that type of thing, hearing them sit around and talk about all the things that did not matter. And like, why aren't we building more temporary COVID facilities to meet for the ICU capacity, or ICU increase ICU capacity, when we know so much more about how to keep other patients safe? That wasn't a comment. Anyway, I'm ending this. I think that's why I want to come up with humility. And I think, I think the right, maybe if you start out and go give some left wingers a hug and tell them, you're not going to kill them for what they've done to us in the rest of the world. Maybe they won't. They'll actually have the humility to come down off of the high horse and say we blew it.